Hi, I'm Julie Farkas, Director of the Novi Public Library, and welcome to Let's Read. I'm very excited to be sharing with all of you, our library audience, two very special guests that are joining me. And we have Mainka and Mike Giromini, both from the Novi Community School District. Ben is our superintendent, Mike, assistant superintendent. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
I'm really excited to get a little bit to know you better and to share with our community some of the things that the library and the school district have done together for many years and have partnered.
Sure.
So thanks.
Thank you.
My first question right off the bat, because you're both brand new, welcome to Novi. Tell me a little bit about what your goals are for this year. What are you hoping to bring to our district?
Sure. Well, I would say, first of all, thank you for having us.
Sure.
And, you know, it's a new team. And so there's been a lot of transition. And so a lot of our work this year is really building back from the past few years. If you think about the pandemic and all of the challenges that were associated with that, whether they were, you know, pandemic protocols and procedures and managing all of those things, it's been a really stressful year for our staff and for teachers. And it's that way everywhere, right. But it's also been very challenging on our students. And so being able to really build back from what we've been through is a really important part. And so I think our theme this year is to be refocusing, renewing, and reinvesting in our systems and our staff and our students. And so you're going to see us do a lot of things internally that are really developing communication systems, for example, systems from how do we, take field trips to, bringing people back into the building. So we have volunteers coming back. We have a lot of those things. And for us, because we're new and we have an entirely new central office cabinet level team, we're doing a lot of relationship building, sure. Right? So it's been so great getting to know you, and you've been so welcoming
Likewise.
To us, and being able to partner on so many things, which I know we're going to talk about.
We are.
But those connections and relationships are really important. So, there's just a lot of really establishing a strong foundation. And then we have a lot of things that we're going to be excited to announce later this year about some upcoming initiatives and things that are pretty innovative for Novi.
And Mike, what about you? Because I know there's a difference in the two roles that you have in the district.
Yeah, so my focus is primarily the academic areas, right? So teaching, learning, instruction, curriculum, assessment, we really think about those things. But I do want to echo what Ben said, like the pandemic really dysregulated us, right? It shifted us out of common practices, norms. And so our focus this year really is getting back to those,
right.
Reestablishing those, maybe finding new ones that might work better, because there are a lot of things that we learned from the pandemic. So really thinking about who we want to be, what we want to focus on, where our strengths are going to lie, and then what our opportunities are. And so really getting to know people, listening to teachers, staff, kids, family members, and figuring out what our priorities should be moving forward. So it's a lot of learning this year.
Well, I'm excited because, to echo you as well, when you talk about getting back out in the community and partnerships and also visits and things with students. We've had some of your students actually here in the building already.
Yeah.
Since you started back in September, we have seen a number of classrooms walk down from some of the local elementary schools and your 5th, 6th grade building and the high school too, and come into the building with the teachers and educators and get a good feel for what the library can offer your students. So we haven't seen that in a couple years, and it feels so good to be connecting again in ways that we did prior.
Absolutely, and I think we're seeing that in almost every event we do. We had a walk to school day just yesterday. We had these elementary reading days that we did, and they were just so full. I mean, they were packed. And I think what you're seeing is, on top of the excitement of being able to come to the library, come back to these events, people are excited to be back into community with each other. There was a lot of isolation, and now, we're coming together to talk, we're coming together to read, we're coming together to learn, and that's a really exciting thing.
And I love you had a couple opportunities, even with the library, to bring some parents and families to the library this summer. You used our patio.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then getting into now, this segment is called Let's Read. We actually have a community read coming up October 18th. Dr. Devorah Heitner is coming. I'll show. The name of the book is Screenwise. You reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to to partner. She's coming in. I know you just had your parent-to-parent book discussion group just recently. Do you want to talk a little bit about the book?
Certainly, yeah. So it was a great turnout. It was great to meet parents that were interested in this topic. And Dr. Heitner has really, I think, captured a very practical resource for us. And I do want to say before I go into that, we're really thankful to the Novi Educational Foundation,
Absolutely.
the Friends of Novi Schools, the Novi Mental Health Alliance, and all of the other partners that I know I'm probably missing a few that really brought this to fruition here in Novi. And so I would say that the book is really very helpful to parents of all, students of all ages. There's a lot of practical advice in the book about not just necessarily limiting or saying we're going to eliminate screens, but how are we going to, the word that she uses is mentor our kids in terms of helping them utilize screen time effectively, and having open dialogue and conversations about what types of apps, what types of technology are you using, and being able to develop really agency in our students to be able to say, I'm comfortable with my child at this age, or I'm not comfortable at this age with them accessing certain types of content and media. And so I think it's a very timely book. We had a great start at our first parent-to-parent book study just last week. And I think that on the 18th, everybody's very excited to host, here at the library, Dr. Heitner to be able to really talk about her work and answer some questions from families.
We've had such a huge success already in response from the book. In fact, we're close to about 200 people that will be in attendance. If you want to attend, it's going to be at the middle school on October 18th at 6:30. We'd love for people in the community to join us. We have copies of the book available here at the library so that people can check them out. I know they obviously can go and buy their own copy, but we'll also be giving out free copies at the event. And to add to the NEF, which is wonderful because they were one of the major sponsors, so are 6 local libraries that are part of a group we call the Neighborhood Library Association. So your Wixom, Northville, Salem South Lyon, Walled Lake, Commerce, these libraries have also joined in with your leadership on this book, wanting to put this out in communities. It's not just for Novi. Lots of our communities could be benefiting from it. The Baronet, obviously, is also another sponsor to bring in Dr. Heitner. But I'm excited that we're having this topic because you're right, it is timely. And there's so much good in social media. We know that. There's so many good things on screens and stuff, but yet how do you focus on the limits and maybe just figuring out the best parameters for our kids and even adults? I will admit, I find myself, you get sucked in very quickly into being on something for a long time. There's a lot of great information out there that maybe you want to be a part of, but it's a lot of time that sometimes can be taken away or ignored. You can ignore other people or things by being involved in it, which we didn't have, I don't mind saying this, 20 years ago. So how do we handle it? How do we find good balances to these great pieces of technology, but yet sometimes, it can. I will call it the time suck. Yeah. Because it is. It can sometimes really take your time, or you can go down a rabbit hole where maybe it's not the best to be on. And we know that, and how can we help our parents and caregivers find that for them?
Absolutely. And I think one of the points of the book that really stuck with me was that our children are watching us. And so when we model behaviors that are unhealthy, and we sometimes don't even understand or model, think about our own use of technology, they're watching us and taking note of those behaviors.
Yes, they are. Yeah. So I can definitely learn from this book as well. I think anybody can. And I also want to encourage, grandparents and older people who might be, those mentors to children. Maybe they're not in the home, but they are close and interacting with their kids as well. So it is a read for everyone. I would definitely suggest that. Mike, I'm going to ask you a question about library cards because for years now, we have been partnering with the district to make sure that students and your staff have library cards. I want to thank you for that. What do you think is the importance of that for your students and for your staff?
Yeah, so I want to thank you for that because it's such a tremendous thing to be able to make sure that all of our kids and staff have this resource. I was thinking about as a kid myself, when I got my own library card. I remember going to the library with my mom and my dad and using their cards initially. But when I got my own library card, it was such a powerful thing. This was my ticket, right? This was my access to the world of things that I wanted to explore. When I was a kid, it was the Hardy Boys and stuff like that. Those, I was going through them on the shelf and exchanging them. It provides, to use a word that Ben used, a sense of agency, right? A sense of ownership. I have the ability to make some choices, to explore new things, to figure out what I really like. And so for all of our kids to have access to these resources, we are blessed as a school district to have the resources that we have for our kids and our staff. However, when we have partners who have even more resources than we have, it kind of opens the world up. And libraries today are so good at networking and sharing with other libraries. It's not just this building of resources that our kids end up with access to. It's really tremendous and wonderful. And so having that card, having that sense of agency and connection and ownership is really powerful.
And you hit on a point too, that we are part of a consortium. So actually your students and teachers have access to over 4 million items just by having a connection to Novi's library. I know, it is pretty amazing though. And there is so much out there for people to explore. I always want people to understand that we're here for the wants and needs. Right, and whatever that is, hopefully we can help you and navigate you to the what suits you and what you need from us. So, a lot of great information. We obviously want to be, I'll call the after hours connection to your students and to your team, because when you close your doors, obviously we're here later in the evening, and so if they need something, we are that additional connection to your education. So we appreciate that opportunity you've given us that direct connection, which I appreciate very much for us to do that. And I know in your administration office, when you're doing registration of new families, we have worked with you to get that card in the family's hands before they even have to come to the library. So trying to, keep that, another step. They don't have to go somewhere else. They're getting all that convenience right there. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. And we'll continue to make sure that those cards get in hands and they're using our library as much as possible. A couple more questions, because there's so much for us to talk about and to share. One of the things I wanted to point out, and I don't know if all of our watchers and readers of the library know this, but we have a great program after school called Teen Space. It's for middle school and high schoolers. This came about years ago. If I'm dating myself, I would say maybe about 8-9 years ago now, where when we were opening the building in 2010, the teenagers, they came over in droves, because obviously we're right here next door to the high school. And it was awesome. We had never seen the teens. I think the building prior was too small, and they knew it, and they had nowhere to go. So when we opened the new building, it was just a whole new environment for them. And they have not stopped. They come over every day after school. We have a partnership with you and with your food service management team through the district and the library to provide the cafe. And this has been a partnership now we're working on another contract and going on, many years, I hope, to be providing this. But the cafe is right next to Teen Space. Kids come in, they have from 2:45 to 5:30 where they hang out and socialize. And I've had people say to me, Julie, my gosh, there's tons of kids coming in the building and it seems a little louder. But I see us more than just a library. I see us also as a community center in Novi. And this is a great opportunity to connect with your students and your teens. So they come in after school, we give them a place to hang out. NEF, again, gave us a ping pong table. The kids play ping pong. We just bought a new Xbox. So we talk about digital, but we know they like video games and they like, interacting in that way. And having a place just to relax and enjoy, but yet it be in an educational environment. And if they need something from us, it's there. Maybe they don't every day, but it's, I think, instilling and planting the seed for education and an information need, and you've given us that opportunity to build that connection with these teens. So I thank you for that, because I know there's a lot going on at the high school. They have a lot of activities, and yet we do see a lot of your students, and it's such a positive opportunity for them to be connecting with us. I know this from our own research. We lose people after high school, and till about late 20s, early 30s. And I know it's, them going to college, leaving, finding their new paths, maybe starting a family, moving away. But what I always try to do then is realize, how can we get them back? And if we've started that initial connection with them, they remember what the library does, and what the library did for them. So I want to thank you for that, because already the teens have been coming over. In fact, I got some numbers last week that we had over 100 in last week throughout the week dropping into the program. We try to provide some programming to them, some resources, but this has been awesome. And I just want to thank you again, because having the cafe too, I know, is a little attraction, and then they come over and then they also have that space. But it's been great to be able to provide that. What else is going on in the district, with your students and with high schoolers that you have going on that you can share?
Yeah, so there's so much going on. It's homecoming week right now, to be sure. But
I know. That's exciting.
I would also say, the fact that we have a connection with the cafe, and we have some of our adult transition center students coming and working in that cafe and getting paid to do that, which is really a great thing. I would also say that a lot of our students are really enjoying the opportunity to have a new STEAM and maker space up at the library in the second floor. And so you're providing really great opportunities that they may not be able to do those things at their homes. They could do them at school. So to be able to come here and have that, kind of extended school day opportunity is really, really powerful. So we do appreciate that. Obviously there's a lot going on across the district. We have a lot of construction projects going on. If you just drive down Taft Road, you'll see a very large project going on, which is our new 5-6 building. It's the New Meadows building. And that is well underway and slated to be open next year for one of the classes. And then we're doing a phased approach, because they have some additional work to do in the cafeteria area. So then the second year, the other grade level will come over. And that's really great. We're doing we have new secured entrances. We've done, in the 2019 bond, a big focus was security, right? So we've done a lot of upgrades to kind of hardening our entrances, and those are being wrapped up and completed this fall for our high school.
Your high school looks beautiful.
Thank you.
I do love the new entrance. Love the signage, love the lighting, everything. It's just very much more inviting. Great way to bring kids in.
Yeah, and there's a lot of positive messaging in that, right? Talking about some of our values as a school district, but also in the very south side, which has been kind of our athletic entrance. In the wintertime, it gets used a lot, obviously, for sports and things like that. That's going to be getting a complete facelift. So we're calling that the Gateway. Okay. And so Novi has downtown, Main Street, but this is a place where a lot of our community members would gather. And so that Gateway will be greatly upgraded with new seating and opportunities for people to gather and just hang out. And so I think for high school kids and community members, that's a really big deal. So, lots to talk about, but there's a lot of work being done right now around the district. I'm
so impressed with the way the district listens and takes into consideration safety and things like that over the years. We've had to do the same. I know there's been a lot of changes. Do you want to talk a little bit about just safety in general and students? I know that wasn't something but I think it's a great topic.
Yeah. So it's a timely topic. I think everybody, especially in this area, when Oxford happened, you hear about these things happening across the country or across the world, but that's somewhere else. That's in a different community. But when it happens so close to home, it really causes everyone to pause and say, okay, what's really happening here? So we've done an extensive amount of training, and Mike and I are new, and our cabinet team is new, but Dr. Weber, Dr. Matthews before us, they paved the way for a lot of this work, along with the school board, that's really got a high sense of focus and priority on school safety. So not only hardening our entrances, but really looking at our protocols and processes. And I would say, all of us, when we were going through school, it was always about the fire drills, and it was always about the tornado drills and the duck and cover and all of that. And we would do that extensively, and we still have those drills. But what we're actually drilling more now is what to do in the event of an active shooter or an intruder that would be looking to cause harm. How do we identify those situations? And we actually run through scenarios with our students. And so it's sad. It kind of hurts my heart to think about the fact that we have to do that, but we have to do that because safety is critical. And we want our families to have the confidence to know that while we can never make any guarantee, we are doing everything in our power to make sure that our students and our staff are as safe as possible every day.
I appreciate that, and I know that you have great connections with our Novi Police Department as well. I know they're fantastic in terms of working through, because I've even done safety protocols even with the library through them. So I know that they're great partners and communicate with you too. You have another book that you're going to be talking about in November.
Yes.
I know that the library will have copies of it. Do you want to share real quick?
Yeah, sure. So the book is actually by Dr. Michelle Borba. The book is called Thrivers. And Thrivers is, it's great. And so we have a generation of children who the Dr. Borba describes as strivers. And the strivers are constantly chasing the next thing, right? It's I've got to achieve this, I've got to achieve this, which inherently, we talk about perseverance and we talk about grit. Those are good things. We want our kids to strive. But what we're finding is that actually, as young adults, there's a lot of research in this book about the traits that need to be present for them to actually thrive, because we're talking about the whole person. Right. It's not just about the fact that I achieved certain levels on test scores or, got certain accolades. Those are all good to continue to strive for. But if we're not being healthy and having balance in our lives, so this book is a fantastic read. It's very practical again. I think any parent, anyone working with kids would benefit from it. And it really talks about how do we help our kids become more well-rounded.
Love it.
And I think it's a great way. It's a great message that our parents, especially in this day and age of our kids, really in Novi especially, trying to strive for so many things. We want to continue to encourage that, but we want them to do that and also maintain balance in their lives.
It sounds like a great read. I look forward to it, because when you give us titles, that means we get an opportunity to do some extra reading here as well. Yep. And I know that we will have copies of the book available for anyone who's interested, and if they want to join you as well for the parent to parent. Yep. You also, before you go, one last thing, you also do a coffee with the superintendent. Yeah. And I know that those are going to be starting up here at the library as well.
They will, yeah. So we invite anyone and everyone to drop in, community members, families, parents, and what we do is essentially we'll have a coffee hour, and essentially we will have different topics, and we'll announce those topics, but they're going to be very timely. A lot of times there's social things that people are wondering about, or a lot of times in society now people are wondering, what are the schools teaching our kids, or what are they doing for safety procedures, or all of those types of things. And so we want to make ourselves very accessible. We're very transparent, and we want to really partner with parents. And so this is just a way to really build access and opportunity for families or community members to hear a very kind of informal opportunity to be able to ask questions or to hear a little bit more about what we're doing.
That's great. I'm glad that we can provide the space and the opportunity. I will look forward to attending them as well, because I love learning from the two of you. I already have, and I know that there's going to be a lot more to be learning about in this year. You have such an amazing opportunity to be here, which we're excited that you have joined us. Look forward to what you're bringing to this amazing community as well. At this time, I want to thank you for joining Let's Read. Don't forget those books. Don't forget what's going on in our community and here in the library. Lots of titles available to you to enjoy. Thank you for joining us.